So, if you're a leader today, you know the feeling, right? It's cognitive overload. You're wrestling with this incredible speed, mind-bending complexity, and the dizzying pace of AI adoption. And you often feel like your traditional systems, your tools are always one step behind. If you're an executive, a product owner, an engineering leader, you know that your intuition, your experience, it's just not enough anymore to keep that edge. So our mission today is a deep dive. We've got sources detailing a new concept called the AI Leader's Assistant. And look, this isn't just another generic enterprise app. This is about an evolution in how intelligence is applied at the highest strategic levels. We're going to extract the specific insights on what this new thinking partner is, how it operates, and maybe most importantly, the specialized expertise needed to build something like this. Our goal is really to give you a shortcut to understanding this future of strategic collaboration. Okay, now let's unpack this.
And it's so important to get this right from the start. The AI Leader's Assistant, or ALA, it's not a simple chatbot. It's not just basic automation. The research is very clear on this. It defines it as a strategic AI native thinking partner. We're really talking about a fundamental shift here. The future isn't human versus AI. It's human leadership amplified by these intelligent systemic thinking tools. And to get that kind of amplification, the ALA has to be, context aware. It has to be driven by reasoning. It blends four really distinct components. First, there's this foundational layer of deep AI native engineering. Second, you need high-level leadership and systems thinking to understand how organizations actually work. Third, it has structured strategic planning frameworks baked in the models that successful leaders already use. And finally, and this is the really fascinating part, it has empathetic, human-centered coaching capabilities.
That blend is what makes it feel so different. It sounds less like a tool and more like a true co-pilot, one that understands the ethical minefield of the boardroom just as well as the complexity of the code base.
Yeah.
So the outcome they're describing here is an assistant that helps leaders turn all that ambiguity into real clarity. It takes those fuzzy ideas and makes them executable. And crucially for any leader, it helps convert that overwhelming pressure into confident, measured action.
Exactly. It's purpose-built for leaders navigating this modern AI landscape where decisions are faster, information is often incomplete, and where all these systems are embedded across every single function of the organization. This systemic view is what separates it from, say, a traditional business intelligence tool that's just reporting on what already happened.
Okay, so that's the high-level theory. But how does this actually translate into day-to-day value? We've got five really distinct areas outlined in the sources where this assistant delivers. This is where, the rubber really meets the road.
It starts with pillar one, strategic thinking and decision support. We know leadership often defaults to firefighting mode. You're just reacting to today's crisis. The ALA completely shifts that focus. It moves you from reaction to proactive anticipation. It helps you see the trade-offs before they become emergencies.
Can we anchor that with an example? Because proactive anticipation sounds great, but what does it actually look like in practice?
Sure. So the research mentions a VP of engineering in Austin. They're thinking about deploying a new AI feature into a sensitive healthcare platform. The typical question is just, how do we build this fast? But the ALA immediately expands that. It pushes the VP to explore the regulatory side, the ethical considerations. It helps map out how this change impacts customer trust, what the data dependencies are, and how it aligns with the long-term roadmap.
Ah, okay, that's the key difference. A normal tool might flag a high level risk if you specifically ask it to, but this seems to actively challenge the premise. It's asking, have you thought about the trust implications of this feature? It's moving beyond answering the question to asking the right questions.
Precisely. And that proactive systemic check, it prevents the most expensive kind of mistakes, the surprises that blindside an executive team weeks before launch.
Okay, so pillar one saves us from strategic surprises. The next thing a leader always needs is structure. That brings us to pillar two, turning vague ideas into executable plans. Leaders are great at the big vision, but translating that into a concrete initiative is where things, well, they often just stall out. I can just picture it. A startup founder in San Francisco says, we need to use AI to improve customer experience. Full stop. That's a classic foggy ambition that usually dies in a planning meeting. The assistant steps in there to clear that fog. It clarifies the objectives, identifies maybe 3 or 4 high-impact use cases, then it outlines a phased implementation, highlights the risks. The leader gets a real roadmap.
Right. They get a clear, phased roadmap and a resource plan in minutes. It replaces weeks of internal debate and analysis paralysis. It's the difference between having a destination in mind and instantly having the GPS coordinates with the fastest route already calculated. And pillar three, this addresses an area that's so often underestimated: executive-level communication. This is where a lot of AI initiatives fail, not because of the tech, but because of misunderstanding or resistance inside the company. The ALA is designed to help leaders craft those executive-ready updates, translating complex technical choices into plain business language that focuses on ROI and impact.
So it's tailoring the message for the audience, a core leadership skill.
It is. The sources give an example of a director of product in New York prepping for a board meeting. They use the assistant not just to write a slide deck, but to really refine the messaging around the AI investment ROI, and critically, to anticipate and pre-answer the tough questions from stakeholders. There's this great quote in the research, sort of a motto for the assistant: "Clarity builds trust. Trust accelerates execution."
That brings us to the last two pillars, which really get into the messy human side of all this.
Right.
Let's talk about pillar 4, risk awareness. The research says it creates informed awareness, not fear. It stress tests your assumptions. It identifies unintended consequences. It's about balancing innovation with responsibility.
And this is way more than just a compliance check. A machine can run billions of simulations instantly. It can test your strategy against known failure modes, market shifts, even organizational biases. It helps prevent what you might call success blindness, where you're so focused on the goal, you don't see the negative side effects, which leads to rework and reputational damage.
And finally, pillar 5, empathy and change management. We know leadership is about people, and people often resist these huge technological shifts. The sources say the assistant acts as an empathetic sounding board, but how does a bunch of code provide empathetic coaching? Isn't that a human thing?
It's a really important question. The ALA isn't claiming to feel emotion, but it is programmed to understand organizational psychology, the common dynamics of change management. It helps a leader frame those sensitive messages thoughtfully, identifying where the team might push back and helping them choose language that acknowledges fear while guiding people toward engagement.
So it's not empathetic in a human way, but it's very effective at simulating the best practices of an organizational psychologist. It gives leaders a safe space to practice those tough conversations. And that reinforces that idea. Technology moves fast. People need leadership that moves with understanding.
They do, but what's really fascinating is that to provide this level of, systemic, human-centered support, the tech itself has to be incredibly sophisticated. This isn't an off-the-shelf product. It requires a highly specialized technical foundation. We really need to look at the people building these agent-powered workflows. This leads us to the AI native engineer. This person is defined as a critical multi-domain thinker. They have deep expertise in designing and deploying what are called agentic systems. Systems where multiple AIs make complex decisions and take actions on their own. These are the people shaping the playbook for enterprise AI adoption, moving things from a proof of concept to a reliable operational reality.
Well, that sounds less like a traditional software engineer, more like a chief architect of digital intelligence. Given that level of sophistication, the job description must be pretty intense.
It is. The sources are clear. These roles require a minimum of 10 years in engineering with robust cloud-native systems, so, APIs, microservices at scale. And on top of that, a minimum of 1 year of deep production-level experience, specifically with these complex agentic solutions. They're a rare breed.
So what does their core work actually involve, where they're dealing with terms like orchestration, harnesses, policy routing? Sounds very technical.
Their work really falls into two demanding areas. First is agent architecture. They are designing the scaffolding for the agent itself. This includes building the orchestration system, that's the director telling all the little AI parts what to do and when. It also involves policy-based routing, which sets the rules for how the agent decides which tool to use or which model to consult.
Wait, okay, let's unpack one of those. Can you give us a simple metaphor for tool invocation? What does that actually mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Think of the AI leader's assistant as a project manager. That manager has a toolbox filled with specialized tools, a financial model, a database search, a compliance checker, a creative writer. Tool invocation is the mechanism that lets the project manager, the agent, decide, okay, I need to calculate ROI, so I'm going to select and run the financial modeling tool right now. It lets the AI interact with other specialized software. The second core area is platform integration. They have to build these robust layers to seamlessly manage multiple AI providers, OpenAI, Claude, Vertex AI, you name it. The assistant needs to dynamically choose the best model for a given task, whether that's a creative summary or a deep legal analysis.
So the system's deciding in real time which trillion parameter model is going to answer a query. That sounds like a huge cost consideration. What does the research say about how they balance performance with keeping the cloud bills from, spiraling out of control?
That's a sharp observation. The material confirms that cost optimization is absolutely core to the design. They use intelligent routing, that's part of the policy system, to avoid sending simple queries to the most expensive, powerful models. So the engineering is fundamentally about efficient resource allocation. And of course, all this is anchored in robust cloud-native skills. Kubernetes, CI/CD, Terraform, to make sure these systems are scalable and secure.
It sounds like they're building this incredibly complex machine, but the genius is how they translate that into a simple, confidence-building experience for the executive. And that's where this five-phase guided process comes in. It acts like a calm, experienced senior AI architect guiding a non-technical leader step by step. It starts with phase one discovery. The assistant doesn't just wait for a perfect prompt. It asks these friendly, intelligent questions to understand the problem, the end users, the constraints, budget, speed, compliance. It takes the leader's initial ambiguous idea and turns it into a structured requirement.
Then you get phase two, system design. This is the translation step. The assistant explains the proposed solution using simple metaphors. Instead of jargon like RAG architecture, it might say, this AI acts like a research assistant who checks our internal knowledge base before answering. Or, this part is a quality control bot that triple checks every answer for safety. It makes the complexity accessible.
And once that design is agreed on, phase three is build options. This is totally adaptive. Does the leader just want a simple explanation or a step-by-step plan for their team? Or does the VP of engineering want the actual code? The assistant generates the output at the right level, never overwhelming the user with jargon unless they ask for it.
And following that, phase four is evaluate and improve. Since this is driving real business outcomes, evaluation is mandatory. The assistant guides the user through understanding key metrics, describing it as quality control for your AI. It measures accuracy, latency, safety, cost. Guiding the leader on how to know if the AI is really working and how to improve it over time, it gives them control.
And finally, phase five, executive summary. This is a communication tool to wrap it all up. It provides a final, business leader suitable summary of what was built, why that approach was chosen, the key risks, and clear next steps. It makes sure the leader leaves with a ready-made update for their stakeholders. Again, clarity builds trust.
So now that we've really detailed what the ALA does and how it's built, let's talk about the change it requires in leadership itself. Adopting this signals a pretty profound mindset shift from reactive management to proactive stewardship. The notes make this philosophical shift very clear. Leadership moves from firefighting to foresight. It shifts from relying on intuition alone to using insight-driven judgment. And you move from being an isolated decision-maker to being part of an intelligent partnership. The core principle is never to outsource judgment, that's still human, but to amplify it with a partner that constantly challenges your assumptions.
And that's the real promise of this, isn't it? The AI Leader's Assistant lets you safely ask the difficult questions, the uncomfortable stress testing ones, without consequence. You can refine strategies on the fly until they're really solid. You can lead with actual confidence even when things are uncertain because your thinking partner is helping you navigate the ambiguity, not creating more of it. The ultimate vision here is pretty compelling. True leadership in the age of AI isn't about human control over the systems. It's about collaboration between superior human judgment and powerful intelligent systems working in harmony.
That distinction is just vital. The ALA is designed to think systemically, to challenge assumptions, to provide structured context that's far beyond traditional tools. And this partnership means leaders have to refocus their energy. They have to move away from the weeds of micromanaging tasks and instead focus entirely on mastering that strategic, insight-driven decision-making.
Absolutely. Which leads to a final thought for you to consider. If the AI Leader's Assistant is designed to optimize processes and manage change empathetically, what core human skills must leaders actively double down on? The skills the AI can never fully replicate. Think about genuine creativity, defining long-term purpose, and that irreplaceable act of building deep mutual trust with your teams. That's the space where human leadership has to thrive, fueled by, but never replaced by, the assistant's insights. And that wraps up our deep dive into the AI Leader Strategic Partner. Thank you for sharing this fascinating stack of sources with us. We hope this gives you a clear vision and maybe a roadmap for navigating the future of collaborative intelligence.